Hi, welcome back to the channel for Right Time here in Denver. I'm Vikki and this is Monica, and clearly we are not Zach, but have no fears, Zach is here. Zach, what are you rocking today? There it is, the Rado.
There it is, feels good. What about you two?
My trusty Maurice.
And I'm rocking a Cuervo Y Sobrinos, which will segue us into the brand that we're going to focus on today. So we want to share with you a really, really special brand called Cuervo Y Sobrinos. Probably not one that you've seen maybe ever, but we were lucky enough to get to carry them in the store. And one of the coolest parts about Cuervo Y Sobrinos is the history of the brand. So they started over 125 years ago. They actually started a little bit before that because in 1862 the founder, Mr. Cuervo, who was an immigrant from Spain, opened up a jewelry store, which would be the predecessor to Cuervo Y Sobrinos. 1882, the official start date, Cuervo Y Sobrinos begins, and Sobrinos is nephews, so of course his nephews joined him in the company. At this point, they're a jewelry store, and they start to grow, they actually move to a very, very important street in Havana, and they become a prominent jewelry store. They're sourcing gemstones from places all over the world. They actually open up a jewelry store in Paris during this time too. And then the most important thing happens as far as we're concerned, because in 1928 they open up a watch factory in Switzerland, in La Chaux-de-Fonds, where many watches are made. So they open up a watch factory and they continue their rise into greatness. They become a very prominent brand in the 1940s. They've been compared to basically like Cartier in Paris or Tiffany in New York. They're a very prominent jewelry store. In fact, during the Roaring 50s, they are the place to go to in Havana. In their jewelry store, they have a little diary where people sign in, a little journal. They sign in and they can write a few things. And they have sign-ins from Einstein, Hemingway, Churchill. So it's a very, very important store. And they continue to do really, really well until, if you visit their official history, in 1965 they become nationalized. I think the official scoop is that the family flees. They take all of the jewelry, all the watches, and they leave Cuba. And then the brand lies dormant. So what they left behind is important because in 1997, the brand is revived because they left behind in the safes in this jewelry store in Havana the blueprints to a bunch of watches that they were making at the time or that they plan to make in the future. So with these blueprints in 1997, the brand is revived. So making watches again in Switzerland, they start to revive all these collections. So we're going to share a few of those collections with you so you get an idea of what the brand looks like. From these vintage designs, we get really, really neat collections like Historiador. Historiador has impressive lugs that are really reminiscent of the times, so really Art Deco in style, and you'll see that throughout the entire brand. We'll focus a little bit on Promenente and Buceador up here, but a couple that we don't have up front. We have Abuelo, which is their Pilot's collection. Pirata. Pirata is the biggest collection in Cuervo Y Sobrinos, and I mean that by size. It's the largest case size, but also a really cool case with the multi-piece construction. And then Esplenditos, and they do have a really pretty Senora collection, so for the ladies, they've done really special watches in that collection. But let's get down and dirty with a couple here.
So this is the Promenente, and you can see the coolest part, at least in my opinion, is the easiest thing that attracts your attention, which is the gold accented Art Deco numbers. And these are big, bold, and in your face, but they create such a cool look and design that you can see it from, you know, a distance when someone's walking by. So the cool thing that I love on this watch is the curvature, which you can see. It sits so well on so many wrists because they have done such a good job of really having no lugs, but also if you look closely, you can see the angled down lugs. So for a large rectangular watch, it just sits well. The other cool part is you have a dual finish on the dial. So in the center you have a black mother of pearl, which will pick up a lot of color and a lot of different light. So the case back has an oval cut out on the back, which I think is one of my favorite things because you still have an observation back of the movement, which still has a really nicely finished movement, although a tiny movement. But it is absolutely a fabulous watch that looks good on anyone who wants to wear it and rock it. It does come in a beautiful white version too, which has a white mother of pearl, which I might say might be my favorite.
So the Buceador is one of the newest watches that we've gotten from Cuervo Y Sobrinos, and it's probably a little bit more casual than what we've seen Cuervo do before. Not quite as like elegant or dressy, so it's kind of been fun to get some of the more casual pieces. On this one, it's particularly neat because it has an inner rotating bezel to go with its water resistant nature. It's a really cool system for an inner rotating bezel, and also has this really cool bright dial. I love that it goes from light to dark in this case, and it stays all in the blue family. So just a really pretty, really fun watch. What more could you ask for in a really pretty fun watch but a really cool yellow rubber lining to the strap, which actually matches the yellow accents on the dial and a tiny little yellow accent on the crown. Domed crystal on it just gives it a really unique look, a really cool case shape, something that you don't see in every other watch brand, which is what we love about Cuervo. It's not like every other watch brand. It's not trying to be any of the big names. It really has its own personality, and part of its personality is coming in a working humidor. So they come in a lovely burl finish, really pretty, and has a travel case inside for you to put your watch in, and then this whole entire centerpiece comes out, and this is where you put all of your Cubans, so they can live inside this humidor. So just a really nice presentation from start to finish.
I will also point out that this comes with 2 straps,
Oh.
so you can actually change the look of it, although I believe both options are just as bright and happy.
That's good. Happy straps.
So why would I pick Cuervo over another brand?
I think for the fact that every time you go to a Cuervo watch, everything is unique. I think they do a really good job of keeping the history there, so you feel like you're wearing this vintage piece, but it's done in a modern size, it feels good, and it just sits well on the wrist. But in my opinion, the beauty of it is the dials and the cases. I think those are the 2 of the things that they do really well, and they make it stand out.
In watches, I think sometimes you look for, and there's always this search for timeless, and I hear this word all the time. Like, people want something that's timeless, that can withstand trends, and that's something that Cuervo Sobrinos does really well, because they picked a time era that is in our past, but one that brought a lot of beauty in jewelry design and art, so it's very well known for that. So the Art Deco period is something that a lot of brands don't focus on, so Cuervo Sobrinos does, but that gives you that timeless look. So whether you wear this watch today or whether you pass it down and somebody wears it 50 years from now, it's still going to be a watch that is elegant and beautiful. So they're absolutely timeless. For the most part, they are mechanical, but they do have some quartz models in the Senora collection. So if you start in the Senora collection, you can get in around $2,000. The mechanical pieces start at $3,000. And then they go up from there depending on case material and intricacy and movements inside. Thanks for joining us for Cuervo Y Sobrinos. We look forward to seeing you for one of the other unique brands in our store. And if you're interested in any of these timepieces, of course, feel free to reach out. You can reach us by phone or by email. Details are at the bottom of this video.
Thank you.
Bye. Beggars can't be choosers.
You don't get either one.
It's true.